Hey, hello everyone, and man, that extra 10 minutes of prep time makes all the difference in the world, doesn't it? Anyway, how's everyone doing out there? I'm Pete Bickford, and welcome to the ComicBase live stream. My levels look a little low on here, so I'm going to just bump the volume, and let's hope this doesn't blow the universe out. Just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down in um, uh, the thing, the chat. Let me know how that sounds for y'all. Anyway, hey, welcome. So this is going to be kind of like a part two of just weird magic little fabulous things that you can do with ComicBase and just in the world. That not all of it we got to do last time out. Actually, it sounds a little hot to me right now, so I'm gonna yep, this is loud here. All right, bumping it down. All right, cool. All right. So, all right. So, yeah. So this is going to be some magic tricks in just the world of technology, but that we weren't able to show last time. Thankfully, we managed to work out our audio streaming, we think, ahead of time, so we can show that off. And then some fabulous things you can do with ComicBase, including some answers to some tech questions that have come in from other folks. If you have questions or things that you'd like to see, please give me a note in the chat. Please put that to @ComicBase TV, and I'll hit those as much as I can. If I always say this, but I'm hoping, I think this might be a shortish show. So plenty of time for viewer questions if you've got it. If not, then I'm just gonna, enjoy the sunny day out here and go out and have a beer afterwards. Anyway, first of all, welcome to Richard Scott, and we are going to be hitting your question as well in the show out there. And let's see, Aura Viejo is from the incredibly pleasant and mild-mannered Minneapolis today. Our moderator, Gregory Hecht, is in the house. Mike Beam, welcome from Vancouver. Robbie from Toledo is in the house, and we are good. Oh, Jet City Comics joining us from Orting, Washington. And again, I'm hoping the sound is overall okay. So without further ado, let me show you something that I wanted to show last time out, which I was unable to, in terms of just fabulous things that have happened with AI that you can't hardly believe. So this is a thing called Emote Picture Portrait Alive. And it's just a tech demo right now, but let's just let this play. The idea is you give it a single image of a person, and it figures out and you also give it an input audio. So input audio plus a single image, and it gives you singing and talking like this. So and before we go further, I'm just going to say, holy crow. I'm like, I almost said a different word there. So yes, no, it in terms of lip sync, oh my goodness, that was really, really slick. And Steve says the TV audio streaming still needs work. It works in terms of sync, volume, or what? Just if Steve would give us some more on that one. Like I say, we're doing the best we can on that one. But hopefully you guys still heard the audio plus the lip sync on that one. Because if you didn't, the rest of this demo isn't going to make any sense at all. But this email thing is really, really cool. I'm going to just play a little bit more of their tech demo on this one, and then a little bit more about AI, and then we're going to move on. All right, cool. And let's go. Oh, it said it squelched out, then nothing. All right, hold on. Let me bump the volume back up. Okay, let's go here. So, pipeline of their method, results of their method. All right, so and again, I'm hoping to heck you guys actually caught the audio on that one. If someone give me a quick thumbs up or down, it'll let me know whether I'm crazy or not. If not, I'm just going to post the video to the chat, and you guys can have a look at it yourself. But you see, you could hear you nothing from the video. unbelievable. That's what makes no sense at all. Like I say, well, we tested it ahead of time and it worked out fine. All right. Well, anyway, I'm going to post the email in the chat. It is stunning. It's called Emote Picture Alive, and amongst the things they did with it is they could figure out like where the song went up, and they were playing a bit of was it Miley Cyrus's song "Flowers" there, and so not only did they animate the lips and the music to match, but they also managed to throw in the facial expressions in the whole thing. So when they're hitting like a really high note, they would be doing this kind of thing like that with a picture, and this is all from a single still frame. Unbelievable stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and try that out there. I do not know why YouTube hates me so very much, but I guess I'm going to be going for my producer's tip on this one, which is just download the video ahead of time, and we'll take it from there. But in the meantime, I'll go ahead and post the link in the chat afterwards. It's called Emote Picture Portrait Alive. Do check it out because it's fantastic. All right, so let me switch my video over here, and from the rest of it, it doesn't matter if, as long as you can hear me, it doesn't matter whether you can hear the rest of it. So okay, then let's get back to fabulous things you can do with ComicBase. So let me wake up the demo machine. Okay, and we are in business. And boom, there we go. So a couple notes on this one. We have a demo machine again. Thank goodness. This was this is an interesting story, at least for me. While back, we did a show where we said, could you run ComicBase on a $149 PC? And it was a little thing that looks like the size of a hockey puck. And it turns out, yeah, it actually runs pretty good. But, $149, I'm sitting there thinking, geez, maybe there's 100 household uses for this sort of thing. And I wound up repurposing it as our scanner station PC. And so I thought, well, okay, I still need a demo PC. Well, let's be Mr. Big Spender on this one. I'm going to blow twice the money. I blew $279. And I said, well, what can you get for that one? And apparently what you can get for that one is 32 gigs of RAM, a 512 gig SSD, an AM5, I forget the actual model. It's an AMD based machine running 3.5 gigahertz, give or take. And this is the machine that we have right over here. And the thing is about the size of, it's about the size of it's the dimensions of a CD. Imagine like 5 CDs stacked on top of each other in the jewel cases. And it's absolutely silent. And this was fabulous. We loved it. And it was fabulous until it wasn't fabulous, because on this particular model, and this one came from a company called Ace Magician, there's very little cooling on it, and the only fan on the whole thing, which is awesome because it's damn near silent, is right on near the processor, and I could hear the processor fan start developing bearing noise. It just meant the cheap ass fan that they had on there just started going out, and I had just enough time to report it to the company before it started making horrible kerchunking sounds, and then the whole thing wouldn't boot at all. And so for a month or so, I was trading emails back and forth with Ace Magician. So that part, I gotta say, is a real strike. Not so much in their favor. It was really hard to get a hold of a live support person and get this thing looked at. But yesterday, the machine showed up in the mail, and its new replacement. I installed ComicBase on it about an hour before showtime, and we're good to go again. So anyway, so this is the deal. And for all you, again, so if you ever wondered what is ComicBase running on a $280 PC work like, it works like this. All right, so with all that preamble out of the way, let's go with I had magic themed tips for everything else that was going on here. How do we make this database update disappear, or how do we make this database disappear? Those were the tricks we did last time out. I'm going to do kind of a stupid one right now, and this is in honor of everyone who ever had one of the emasculated chemistry kits that were coming out in the 70s. Apparently, if you got a chemistry kit in the 40s or the 50s, you could actually do cool stuff and burn the house down, and that was apparently frowned on by latter-day folks. And by the time, if you got a chemistry kit in the 70s, you had things like, oh wow, you had litmus strips. You can detect whether something acid or a base, or one of the really really raging tricks you could do with the tricks back then is you could make something that looked like water, pour it into three different glasses, and depending on what solution you had in the different glasses, you pour what looked like three different liquids out of the end. So I'm going to play a little trick called make this database change color. Now, why would you want to make your database change color? And the main reason you'd want to do this, other than just it's fun, is let's say you've somehow gotten a position where you are managing more than one database, or you've had different versions of ComicBase, and you're wondering, is this the right one? Because I had a whole bunch of extra copies that were the wrong ones, and it gets confusing because every once in a while I open up old ones, and it's how do I know I'm in the right place? And we had a couple of tech calls like that, and the very first thing I do whenever there's confusion about is someone using the right database or not, the very first thing that we do is show this trick. And the trick goes as something like this. Oh, and by the way, we got the magnifier working here as well. We're firing on all cylinders this week, with the exception of sound, apparently. So you go to the file menu, and you go down to theme. And at that point, you get the idea that ComicBase can have themes, but specifically your database can have themes. Now, the default theme is called Wave. It comes in a variety of hues. You can choose different themes. You can choose themes that are radically different. Here's the grunge theme, for everyone who loves skateboard art from back in the day. But you also as well can change what color things are. So let's go ahead and make this database turn orange. Or let's just go back to Wave here because my eyes are hurting me. And let's, more importantly, just make it change to a different color, and we'll go ahead and make it green. All right. And while you're at it, you also can customize the backgrounds for, this is the theme background, but you can have custom backgrounds for your books, for your comic books, for your newspapers, for your magazines, so that you are in a thematic place as you go to different places, if you prefer. And while you're at it, you also can even choose whether or not, when you launch the program, whether the sketch cover or the painted cover for the latest cover pops up. That's a thing that we can do. But like I say, the reason you would want to even do this trick, other than just find the one that speaks to you as a human being, is it's really really helpful if you're using more than one database to just be able to say, oh yeah, my database, the right database is green. My old database, or the database I'm managing for my kid, yeah, his is the blue one or the purple one or the whatever else. So the second you're opening up the database you want, because remember, ComicBase is always going to open up the last database you used. And so let's say you were doing some data entry for your kids' collection, and his is the purple database, and you now enter some books that you just got. It's one thing to look up at the very top title of the whole thing and say, oh, look, this is ComicBase database.cbdb. It will tell you what database you're entering into at the top. That's way too subtle. Being able to say, oh yeah, the green one, oh yeah, the blue one, it will save you so much headache over the course of your time. So like I say, find databases that mean the right thing to you, and take it from there, and I think you'll be very happy. All right. Let's see, Steve Dassinger adds, for themes, you can make copies of the database have different colors. This is true. Says, can you make it so they have different backgrounds? Currently, one copy of the same background for both. I'm afraid not. The backgrounds are actually a separate graphic that's, so the themes are stored as a preference setting within the database. The backgrounds are actually separate folders that are stored in your database directory, and so those are limited to one per user. So if you change your backgrounds, the background changes are going to be shared by all the databases that you have. And let's see, Oro said, my chemistry set circa 1958 had sulfur. Nice. Mom made rotten egg smell. Well, if it had sodium, you could have way more fun than that. But anyway, it's funny because I think a lot of people back in the day in the 50s got into chemistry sets and became chemists. I don't know anyone who got into chemistry in the 70s with a chemistry set and said, oh, wow, this is clearly the way to have fun. Although I do know a number of people who in the 2000s were watching Breaking Bad and then thought, hey, maybe I should pay attention in chemistry class. Anyway, all right, let's move on. All right, so this trick is called Watch Me Pull a Weird Report Out of My Hat. Oh, okay, radio. Yeah, we'll get to that. Watch me pull a weird report out of my hat. All right, so all you guys at this point should know that ComicBase has a bunch of reports built in. We even added new ones over recent years. So if you go up to the report menu up here and you go, we have everything from overviews of your entire collection, quick kind of presses of the whole collection, line by line collection reports, different labels for dividers and IDs, and item checklists if you want to like really complete out a certain report. You want to know all the different things and how much everything's going for. You can have reports of your most valuable items. You can do price labels, price lists, sales reports of what you've sold on different systems, including Atomic Avenue. After a weekly update, you can say what were the things that went up and down the most in value, and you can have a wanted list. So these are all the basic built-in reports, but what if that's not everything you want? What if you want to see something else? Well, it turns out anything in ComicBase can, that you can view can be a report. All you got to do is basically look at it. So let's say I just want a report of just show me Action Comics. Matter of fact, let's say I want show me Action Comics 0 through, I don't know, 0 through all the variations of number 1. All right. So all I'm just going to do is I'm going to highlight the ones in question here, and I'm going to right click and say quick report. Let me see if I can make that larger for you. So I'm right clicking, I'm going down the bottom, and I'm choosing quick report or F7. And then what that's going to do is it's going to just instantly take everything I did there and show it to you in report format, including the I think the $8 or $10 million Action Comics number 1, which is so big it overflows the field. So I guess I guess now that we've added another digit to what Action Comics goes, it's time for us to increase the spacing on this report again. This is something that we wind up doing about every 8 years with Action Comics number 1. That's always the bellwether. But anyway, the point is, anything you select at all is suddenly going to become a report. You can, if you don't select anything, so let's say I just leave everything unselected and I do a quick report, which again, F7, it's going to show me everything that's in my current grid. So here's all the issues of Action Comics expressed as a report. And you also can use this to do weird things. Like let's say Action Comics number 0 had a storyline there calling peer pressure. So let's find all the parts of peer pressure. It just needs a minute here. So while this is going, I'm going to vamp. I'm going to, oh, there we are. No, so much for vamping. So here's all the reports. Here's all the pieces of that storyline called peer pressure, which again, if I don't have anything selected and I just say quick report, is going to say, all right, here's all the peer pressure reports. And it looks like, again, we got to probably buy ourselves a little bit more space up here, because when we get these descriptions really long, we're starting to crowd ourselves a little bit. So, all right, note to self, we'll do a little tweak on that one. But anyway, so anything at all that you can view, whether it's anything that's in a find, you can do a report on. So, and then another thing you can do, which is kind of cool, is let's say you want to go and take a specific report. Like let's take one of these reports up here, like let's say a collection report. All right, so here's a collection report, and I can, with collection reports, I can say, do I want to show the current series I'm looking at? Do I want to see all the series I own or selected series? So like let's say I'm going to, let's go ahead and pick a couple of these right here. Here's Action. Well, let's just choose One World manga, and that'll do for now. Just choosing a couple of random ones on there. And let's just go ahead and preview this report. And of course, I chose all things that I don't actually own, and I chose a report that only reports on things I own. So that wasn't particularly smart of me. Let's try it a different way. Let's go series I own. And let's limit this to series that are actually in stock, which would be kind of cool if I did that. All right. So let's do this, and I'll choose those ones right there. And now let's try the report again. All right, and this makes quite a bit more sense. So a collection report is a line-by-line report of all the comics in question. It's lovely, it's fabulous, it's informative. You can even have pictures on for everything, but it tends to be a little lengthy. Another thing that is interesting, though, is let's say you wanted to have a checklist, but you wanted to only have a checklist for, say, DC titles. So one thing you could do is you could actually do a find. And in order to do a find, a couple ways to get there. You can go under find and say find other, or you can just say, let's go to Control F. We'll get you there as well. But let's say I'm going to say find, and go to title fields and say publisher. And I'm going to say, all right, show me publishers that where it's DC. All right. And now we're going to get a list of all just the DC titles. Okay. Now I could report this and it would give me some stuff, but I also could then use stuff from this and use it as the source for a different report. So you can go do a find based on titles and then go under the, where do we leave this? I think it's the, where am I looking for? I think I'm looking for right click. Yeah, there we go. Right click, report selected titles as. And then if you do that, then you can take all the things that were the result of a title search and say, well, yeah, give me the selected ones and give them to me as, I don't know, item checklists. Sure, let's do that. So for this 4,829 ones I've done, it's already chosen them. And now if I'm very silly, let's go ahead and preview a 4,829 item long item checklist. This is a very, very silly thing to do, especially in a demo. So I'm going to let that go for a minute, and I'm going to vamp. I just wanted to show it could be done. My guess, well, if you want to take bets on this whole thing, I'm going to bet that this report is something on the order of 15,000 pages long. It's not a particularly rational report to do. Would have been much more rational if I'd highlighted a smaller number of these, but yeah, hey, I was off and running, so I let it roll. All right, so with that said, let me go ahead and check the chat because this is a good thing to do while you're vamping. All right, so Ed is joining us here. Richard Scott wants to remind us all: don't forget radium as far as your chemistry kits. Yeah, radium. I think at least I grew up in the atomic age, so everyone knew that stuff like that was potentially interesting. Like I say, sodium is always the one where like sodium's like salt, right? And so no one ever thought what happens if you drop sodium in water. It turns out, interesting things. All right, let me see here. Yeah, he goes, that trick never works. Okay, and I think that's about it for the chat right now. Let's see how we're doing back there. Switching back to our monitors because I think I know how to do this now. There we go. All right, and is my mouse? I just got my KVM switch working right before the show, which is also very good news for me. By the way, if you guys care about such things, it could be that you ever get into a position in your life where you have more than one computer, where you'd like to not have to have monitors for every darn thing and keyboards for every darn thing. And so if that's the case, what you need is a thing called a KVM switch. It stands for keyboard, video, and mice. And what it is just a little device with cables hanging off it. You run the USB cable and the HDMI cable to each of your computers, and then you can share one computer between all, one monitor and keyboard and mouse between all the computers in your life. So if you do have more than one computer in your life, incredibly handy. It makes so you don't have a complete junkyard full of stuff, in your life. One thing that I found out though is the KVM switch that, because in order to put the show together, there's about 3 or 4 computers involved, depending on what I'm showing, including Macs and stuff like that. The KVM switch that we were using, it just wasn't switching. And we figured out exactly why, again, right before the show. We're just Mr. Problem Solver right there. But anyway, if you need a KVM switch, they can be had for as little as like $35. And I can't really tell you that there's a massive quality difference between the ones that are $35 and the ones that are $200. So use your best judgment on that. All right, so let me switch back over here. And where's the PC? It is, demo. There we are. Okay, we're 89% of the way there. Again, I can't overestimate how incredibly stupid it was for me to choose a report of this length to use as a demo. But hey, it at least will show that it can be done. And like I say, on a $280 PC, this is not the worst little stress test of something. By the way, if you guys care, installing ComicBase on a $280 PC, to full install the 4K archive edition took about 25 minutes. So from downloading the software all the way through installing all the pictures. And we had the first set of pictures were up in about 8 minutes. So not too bad. And if your machine is performing markedly worse than that, something is going wrong. All right, so it's processing the document, and now the poor print engine is trying to format what or paginate what must be an insanely long report. So I'm just going to kick on with other things as things go. Oh, there we go. All right. So I was guessing 15,000 pages. Oh, I was off. I'm sorry. This is merely a 6,467 page report. But this is an item checklist for every DC comic book in the known universe. So if you ever wanted to have something like that, there you go. Matter of fact, come to think of it, there was actually they used to publish books that were nothing but the Marvel checklist or the DC checklist. So I guess we've proven that you don't need to do that. So, all right, to review the steps if you want to do any report in the world. If you don't see exactly what you want, just go ahead and do a find. Any kind of find, and whatever you can see, you can either print the whole thing you're looking at, or you can print selected parts of it. Just right click on it and choose quick report. You also, if you're choosing titles, can feed titles into any other report. And so just all you gotta do is right click and say report the selected things as, and then give it the items you want to see, and it'll take it from there. Pretty cool stuff. All right, let me see here. Let's see. Steve Herring says, when I go to my Flash collection, the photo at the top is Flash Gordon. How do I change it to one of the Flash? Interesting question. What title are you on exactly? Are you on The Flash or Flash Gordon, etc.? And I'm wondering, is it a mistake we made at some point, or is it just a random stray picture that's in your database? I don't know. If you can give me a little bit more information in the chat here, I'll try to give you a better answer on that one, Steve. All right, and I think that catches up with that one. And now let's get on to Richard Scott's question. Richard had a question of, all right, so you say I can do reports, and I want to know how to use the advanced find feature to do really strange things. They're not a simple find at all. I want to show all the comics that have gone up by, say, 10% that I own that are in my collection. And here's how you would do that. So when you go ahead and do find, and let me go ahead and switch the monitor because that's helpful when you're explaining things. So when you go and do a find, it's got a bunch of finds built in. So if I just want to see every comic in my collection, all you gotta do is say find my comics, and boom, that's a list of all your comics. You can find comics that were released this week, find comics that were released last week, and then you can say find comics who either have an item field, something referring to the individual items, which is of some interest. You could say, find me all the 10-cent comics in my collection. You could say, find me all the comics that were, lettered by, Art Simic or something. So you could, anything you could think of that's an attribute, you could do a find on it. And the same thing goes with, you could also do finds based on the series. Now, when you do finds based on series, you're going to tend to get back titles. So in other words, when I did a find for DC, what I got back was not individual items, but I got back titles that were from DC. Same thing goes if I do a find based on items, I'm going to tend to get back individual items. So that's kind of a wrinkle. Just beware that that's a factor in here, because it's kind of intelligently figuring out based on what you're searching what makes sense to give you back, right? So also though is sometimes you want stuff that isn't just a particular. I don't want just all the 10-cent covers. I don't want just anything straightforward. Let's say I want something which is, say, I want to know all the comics, not that are worth $3 or something. I want all the comic books that are worth 10% more than they were worth last year. In that case, if you're using anything but the Express version, there's a feature here called Advanced Find where we just kind of turn you loose. And it's ugly as hell, and I'll be the first one to admit it. But what it does, it gives you, it's called SQL level access to the database to basically search for anything you could think of and do really crazy queries. So this is one here I did just moments ago, and I just want to show you how I got there. Matter of fact, I'm going to clear it just so I can show you how I got there. And the question was, how do I find all the comics that I've got that are worth more than 10% of what they were worth last year? All right. And the way you'd get there is this. You go to Advanced Find, and then you can go over here and you browse fields. This helps a lot. So let's start by saying, all right, I'm going to go down to value year 3, 2022. You can tell I haven't updated the database yet, because otherwise it'd be saying that's 2023. So anyway, sorry guys. I installed right before showtime. I didn't have time to run the content update. What I'm going to say is, show me, I'm sorry. Let's go. I'm doing this backwards. I want to know where the current value so value year 4 is greater than, and I could also say greater than or equal to, but if I want it to be 10, last year's value plus 10%, then technically I want to say it's greater than or equal to, whoops, last year's value. Last year's value is value year 3, so that's 1 year back, times 1.1. All right. So translate out of math, what does that mean? It means this year's value is greater or equal to last year's value times 1.1, right? So, we've had a 10% or greater gain in value over the year. All right. But that I don't want to see just every comic in the database that was that way. He also wants to say, and I only care about the comics I own. So I'm going to do something that say and, all right. And just for convention, I capitalize it. Capitalization does not matter in any of this stuff, so don't worry about that. But now I'm going to say quantity in stock, all right? And I'm going to say is greater than 0, all right? So to repeat, show me everything where the current value is 110% or more of last year's value, and I've got it. Quantity in stock is greater than 0. All right. Don't worry about the order by, because we'll just take the standard order. And I could say maximum results. I could set a number here, but 1,000 will be fine because I only threw in a couple of things here. And there's my list. Here's all the comics that I put into my test database here, which are in stock. You can see they're all shaded. I've got them, and you can see also they're all red. Red, by the way, is one of the colors that we use by default in the coding of these things to say that they've gone up in price significantly. So here's all of them. And then if I want to get a report of these, I just highlight them all. I right-click and I say, show me a quick report, which is right there. And boom, there you go. There's the list. And yeah, and again, I think we're going to have to do some English here to make it so if you have very, very complicated reports here, we don't write over ourselves on the headers, because that is unaesthetic, and I don't like that. So we'll fix that. All right. So that's how you would do that. One thing I would say when you're doing advanced finds, very, very handy, is once you've figured out what the right formula is, click on these buttons here and say Save Search. Because what you could do then is you could save the search and I had this one, one just like it called up by 10%. It saves the whole thing out so that later on, if you want to go back to the whole thing, all you got to do is say advanced find, load search, and you can, once you figured this out, load it up, and then it will instantly, show you the results again, and it saves you having to reformulate the SQL of the stuff, which granted, this can get ugly if you're not used to the syntax or anything like that. It can throw you. This is one of those things where we deliberately left things open, where we expose the rotten underbelly of the code based interface to you, because it's incredibly powerful. And but unfortunately, with that comes the fact that there are, if you get the syntax wrong, if I'd misspelled and, or if I'd put an extra comma in or something like that, you'd get this ugly syntax error message, and it really be kind of an exercise to the reader to figure out what you did wrong, because it would just tell you, well, there's an extra comma over here and you should fix that. By the way, there is a forum in the a special message, what do you call it, thread in the forums, which is advanced find support, and there's a great many specialized queries that have been written up there, and they're in the great community we've got over here with people who love helping folks with this sort of thing, including our own Steve, Stealth DBA. Has done yeoman's work on this sort of thing, because as turns out, his day job back in the day was he was a database administrator, so he's been awesome. But anyway, give that a shot. Advanced Find, amazingly powerful. All right, so back to Steve's question. He says, is the Flash first series, not sure what happened? Okay, so he's saying you've got the wrong Flash for Flash first series. So, all right, easy enough. Gives you a chance to show another trick. So let's go ahead to Flash first series. Flash the first series. There we are. Okay, and of course, if you guys follow this stuff, Flash used to be Flash Comics, which is why it starts at 105 in the Silver Age when it came up there. But he's saying he's got a picture of Flash Gordon showing there instead. So if you've got a wrong picture showing, first thing that'd be interesting to know is if you have just a random picture in the folder, Like let's say you had well here let's see if I can mimic your problem right now. So you say there was a Flash Gordon, right? Uh, and this is the part where I foolishly was saying, hey, how many series could be called Flash anything? Let me just go forward. No, and then I have to think, no, you could have a million things called Flash something. All right, so I'm gonna steal a Flash Gordon from Agência Portuguesa de Revistas for series. Oh my God, my accent is terrible. So I think that was French. All right, I'm going to copy this picture out of there, and I'm going to make this window a little bit smaller so I can fool around and dump things around in windows on my desktop. So, all right. If you're watching from home, what I've done is I've just taken a picture from Flash Gordon, some Spanish, some Portuguese series, #1, and I've dumped it onto my desktop. Now, this is just one. It's just a JPEG. There's nothing to it. All right. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that JPEG to pollute the Flash first series over here. So what I'm wondering is, Steve, is if you've got something like this going on in your life, is if at some point in your life, maybe someone did something like this where you simply added a picture where I dragged a wrong picture onto the series, which then, there is no issue #1, so it's not displaying it. But if I go backward and then I go forward, that alphanumerically, even though the first real issue is #5, that the first picture in that folder is now #1 or 0 or something else. And so when you just go to the title, but before you've chosen anything, what it does is it isn't showing you any particular issue. Like if I click on an issue, it shows me the data for issue number 105. Here's the data for issue number 106, and so forth. But when I just go to a title, or when the title is unselected, I'm holding down the Control key and I'm selecting here to essentially unselect issues. What it does there is it shows the title information along with a sample picture for the title. Now, when you first go to the title, it's going to just show the first picture in the folder. It's not looking for a particular issue. It just says, give me the first picture in the folder. And because I polluted that folder with a wrong picture, it's showing me a picture from Flash Gordon. I'm wondering if you got something like that going on for you. If so, go right click on the picture, say show picture file. It's going to open up that folder, in which case click on the bad picture, delete it. And then if you go right and then you go left again, then we're back to showing real Flash. If that's, I suspect that's probably what's going on for you. If it's not, then you've probably somehow along the line, someone has polluted your picture of Flash number 105 by just dropping the wrong picture in there. What I would do is, again, right click, choose the bad picture, delete it. And then what you can do, especially if you have the archive edition, is just right click on that whole thing then and say download the cover. It'll pull down the official cover from our database and you'll get a picture of Flash 105. So hopefully that takes care of you. Okay, yeah, and Steve says when I right click on the picture file, several Flash Gordon covers are up in the folder with the Flash covers. Yeah, I don't know. Something went screwy with your, the picture folder on your hard disk. Feel free to delete things. By the way, a secret for all you guys is, the pictures are only stored in folders on your computer. So by default, now I'll go ahead and zoom this out. By default, pictures are stored in a folder in your in public documents called human computing, and then there's a pictures folder, and then you've got letters for all the different letters of the alphabet as well as the numbers, and then inside there you've got ABC. You've got the publishers, and then you've got for some of them it even breaks it down further by the first letter of the title, and then it's got letters by the title. But anyway, all the pictures on your entire machine are in this pictures folder over here. If you have never installed, like if you've never scanned your own pictures, like if you don't care about the particular pictures involved, you could blow away your entire picture folder if you want. I mean, you could delete it all and then just download it again if you want. And then you get all the official pictures if you feel like somehow just over the years, things have gotten shuffled around or messed up. If you have been scanning your own pictures, so I would definitely say leave those be, and just if you see bogus pictures that you've somehow thrown in the wrong places, just go and delete those. But remember, if you're an archive user, you can always just at any time you can always just re-download any pictures you're missing and take it from there. So like let's say I'm just gonna let's go ahead. I'm just gonna grab a bunch of these Flash ones over here, delete them. right? I'm going to go forward and back just so it refreshes and says, oh, my goodness, where'd they all go, right? But then I can always just go and, highlight those issues that I'm missing the pictures on. And if we've got a picture, I mean, if you right click and you say download and no picture comes down, it means that we don't have the picture either. Whoops. And let me go ahead and actually select these, right? Okay. Right click. No. Why don't you want to download covers for me? What did I do to you? Huh. Okay. Hang on. I might have confused it. Give me a second. Let's try it again. Oh, I just didn't just drop an internet connection, did I? That would, oh, no, we're good. Sorry, don't know what the glitch was, but hey, like I say, this machine is all of like an hour or two old. All right, so, and it's downloading that, and I wonder if we are glitching the internet on this machine. I hope not, because it's going to make the rest of this whole thing a little bit awkward if so. Anyway, we'll let that go for now. All right. And let me see what else we got on here. Yes, I wanted to say create a set / print items, etc. Presto. And yeah, it does look like the internet is glitching on that one. Wow. Oh no. Did I? Oh, hang on. Sorry. I think I started doing two things at once on that machine. And I just confused the living daylights out. I'm going to not show you that while I just exit and come back in. Yep, that's what I did. Okay. Sorry, guys. That was weird. Let me go back there and relaunch that program. Sorry, guys. Remember how before the show I was saying that, I hadn't downloaded the current content update? Well, apparently I'd started doing that in the background because I'm an idiot. Okay, well, there you go. Okay, so this is what you get for trying to demonstrate things while you're in the middle of updating them. So it goes. Let's switch back over. Okay. So, and I think if I just go down here and do this now, yeah, there they go. Yeah, and that's why it was also very slow before. All right. And let's go ahead and download those other covers. Okay. All right. So let's see here. Next thing I want to do is, oh yes, I want to say how to select things very, very quickly. So, all right, remember how I was showing you beforehand how you could select series. Let me put myself on camera here. So when you've got a report or something like this, and you can say, hey, I want to do like a collection, overview or a collection report for different things. I also can do, let's say I want to print ID labels, right? Okay, so when I want to print ID labels, and let's go ahead and choose an Avery address label. Okay, now it's going to say, what do you want to print ID labels for? And it's going to give a list of choices. And you could do, say, show me all the, give me ID labels for everything in the current series, for all the series I own, which would be a lot of labels, for selected series, or the more common thing is give it to me for just selected items. Like, I just added a bunch of comics and I want to print ID labels for them. Now, I can go print ID labels, selected items, and then choose, all right, let's find the comics. So let's see, I just added one Batman. All right, third series. It's going to show me all the third series. So yeah, give me an ID label for that one and that one and that one. I mean, you can do it this way. It's pretty tedious. I wouldn't suggest going that way. And so what happens, you kind of stack up a list of all the things you want to print. And then when you're all done, you say, okay, there's my list. And okay, I got 4 chosen. Then go preview and boom, there's all my ID labels. You can do that. It's not how I do it. Because it's tedious. Basically, what you're doing there is you're starting from the idea of what do you want to print. You say, I want to print ID labels, and then it's going to ask you, well, what do you want to print them for? All right. You can reverse the question, which winds up, in a lot of cases, being a lot simpler, which is to say, hey, I'm already looking at the things I'm interested in. So give me ID labels for like those. And then the question is, well, now what do you want to do with them? So instead of, subject verb, you go over, instead of, verb subject, as in I want to print ID labels, you can, and then for what, you say, I am looking at these, I've chosen the subject, and now it says, what do you want to do? And then you say, I want to print ID labels. So let's say I want to print ID labels for the Flash, first series. What I can do is I'm looking at them already and say, okay, I want those ones right there. I'm gonna hold down the control key. I'm gonna choose those over there. And also I want to do these ones down here, right? And again, right click and just say, and instead of quick report, I'm gonna say print me ID labels. And there it says, all right, see selected items, 13 chosen, and preview, and boom, there's all my labels like that. This is especially handy when you're doing certain things that naturally would lead to needing labels, right? So the most common one that comes to mind is when you say, I want to add items by barcode. So for instance, I'm going to scan a bunch of comics in here, and I'm just going to go beep, 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 and I got a big list of things that I've just added to my collection, but then they're all brand new. I want to now print labels for them. Well, if I choose this item at the bottom there, display items after saving, then what'll happen is the second I click, save here for all the items that I beeped in, and I would do it in front of you right now, but I have no comics. No, do I? No, I don't. They're hooked to the wrong machine. But anyway, it's going to give me the list. And once that list once it's done adding them to my collection, I'll be staring at a list that looks just like this. At which point I can just highlight everything in stock, right click, and say, yeah, give me ID labels. Or I don't even need to right click. I just hit F6 and it'll spit them out. So this kind of like reversing the noun and the subject, because again, all the things that you can do that involve these kind of pairings, you can do them in either order. I mean, if it's more convenient to say, hey, I want to choose what I want to do and then specify what I want to do it from. If that's convenient for you, then by all means do it. But like I say, all these other actions, one of them is, for instance, like grouping items into a set. I find is far more useful for me if I'm looking at the items and say, like, yeah, I'm selling a bunch of Flash First Series ones right here. Like start by putting them in stock. If I select them and then I want to say add to set right here, then I don't, it just immediately creates a new set, and I can just go ahead and bust out here. So here's Flash First Series items, what through there, and I just say save, and boom, I've created my set. It takes no time at all. I'll do it that way. Let me get rid of these other bogus ones. Yep. Sorry, that's what happens when you start with stock databases. But yeah, so when you find you're doing things like this, consider reversing the order. It may wind up saving you a great deal of time. All right. And let me see. I think that was all the ones that I had on my list for that. Let's see. Steve. Okay, and Steve's problem also got worked out. So with that said, I think I'm gonna call this one an end. And I still don't know what's going on with sound, but that'll be a subject for another live stream. As far as why, especially YouTube, doesn't seem to be able to play sound, and we'll take it from there. Steve Dazier wants to write in a re-add by barcode to labels. If you add different types, books, etc., and use the mark add items, you can find all with finding marked items for each type. This is true. So what Steve's talking about is one thing about finding. So, and this goes for whether you're showing the items that you just added, or if you are doing a find. You can't find across media types. So the reason is because, so for instance, I can't bring back results that might contain some comics and some magazines and some books. I got to choose the media type ahead of time, or if I'm doing an action that might conceivably involve all three, it can only show one at a time. The reason is because the grid, or the album, whatever else, it's going to be displaying different fields because the different collectibles have different attributes, and so they can't sort of mix and match them in them because they don't fit. One thing this is, by the way, a really good use of the history button up here in the upper right here to the top. Right next to the find button here, there's a history button which says, what are the last few things that you've done? And if you've done an add by barcode, so I'm sorry, backing myself up again. So if you've done an add by barcode and you've scanned in some books, some magazines, some comics, it's going to take the list it shows. If you say, show me the things I added, is going to be the type of the first collectible you scanned. It figures I got to choose one. That one makes as much sense as any. And so it shows you those. But if you want to go back later and say, okay, fine, you showed me all the comics, but show me all the books I scanned, just go back to your history, and it'll say, add by barcode, like there, and then click on it, and then it'll say, oh, hey, there were some other items I could have shown there. Did you want to see the books now? Do you want to see the magazines now? And it'll let you switch between all those ones. And that's a really nice way to page between those ones. It's actually one of my favorite things about the history button, is allowing you to go back to those things where you weren't able to see them all at once. But another way you can go about those is, if you want to note things for later. Like, I don't want to deal with them right now, but I want to get back to them. If you want to take all the items that you've added and mark them, you can then. There's a command called mark as well as unmark. It's very easy then to go back and choose all the items I've marked and get a report on those, export those, and so forth. It's a very handy, weird little general purpose thing in the program you can do. So anyway, give it a shot. All right. With all that said, I gotta figure out how to get my mouse onto the right screen. This is so confusing. Sorry. Got two monitors here. One of them is the one I'm actually running the podcast from, this one over here, and then I'm watching myself in the program window viewing the other monitor, and it's driving me around the bend. But anyway, that's high production value. So here you go. Our moderator wants to remind everyone of the PSAs. Please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Even when I'm being incoherent like now, I occasionally say useful things. And if you'd like to be part of those useful things, this is a great way for us to be able to tell you about them. So hit the like, hit the subscribe, and hit the announce, and we'll try to let you know when we do new things every week. Also, there are special message boards in the forums dedicated to the live stream topics. I think we're done with this one, so we're looking for new material. And if you want to be part of that one, please go ahead and add the topic that you'd be interested in, and we'll try to make this useful for you. And finally, there's a link to Andre's amazing ComicBase cover catalog, which is an insane project. I mean, I never get over this one. We create a 6,800 page report at the top of the show. This is, Andre, if you're here, you guys just tell us how many thousands of pages that thing is at this point. But what he's done is he has taken all the covers in ComicBase, all million, and I think it's 35,000 of them or so at this point. And in thumbnail form, you can see every single one of them laid out in like kind of like the Gerber books of yore. Amazingly cool thing to see. So please do check out that. There's a link to the torrent on that one if you want to check it out. And I think that will do us for today. Guys, thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.